have a broader view of Italian smart cities.
Yeah.
What can you tell you about that?
Let me, first of all, I want to, to thank the ambassador, all the people here in the Ambasciata del Canada for this occasion, and then I want to apologize for my very poor English. I hope everybody can understand. First of all, we can say in Italy what has been done, and we had lots of events, lots of conventions, lots of congresses, lots of academic papers, and also some smart city projects. I think it's true that in our cities we started making something, using technologies to make people living better. And without with a strategic and holistic vision of smart city, I have to say also of city at all, because we started doing and promoting and financing small improvement using technology, for instance, in mobility, in lighting, in building, in energy. But just 2 or 3 years from the beginning of the debate here in Italy, we are finally having, I think we are having a strategic approach. It's kind of, you know, like an inverted approach, like the one we heard before from Jennifer and now from Karen. But it's true that, as you can see there, we, as the Observatory in ANCI, the Italian Associations of Municipalities, we started collecting these projects, and we found out there are so many projects, so many interesting projects out there in our cities. We just started asking our cities, the ones who belong to the National Observatory. Now I think we are around 120 cities, and we collected, we found out, as you can say, 1,200, more than 1,200 projects. And I can say most of these projects are very, very interesting. What we have to do now to make these projects become a system in our country? I think we have to start again from 2 or 3 questions I've already heard before. One is, I think the most important is a word used maybe by all of 3 the speakers before me. It's something like friendly. We have to start again speaking about a city who is focused on people who live there, because the supremacy of the urbanism or technology or I don't know what else, it's a poorness for the people who lives in the city. Because I think here in Italy we have to face, for instance, before Jennifer said, the main asset in Toronto is foreign-born people. It's very shocking for us to hear this statement in this moment in Italy, when we are facing this, someone called it an invasion from abroad, from Northern Africa, you know, while the percentage of foreign-born people in our cities is around 10–12%. In the northern Italy, maybe in Brescia, which is one of the cities with the higher foreign-born population, it's something like 14%. While in Toronto, half people is foreign-born, and they said it's the main asset of the city. It means we have to start again thinking about people, and for a moment, for a while, and not only thinking about infrastructure, technology, and so on. I think, of course, infrastructures are very important, but I want to focus both, you know, physical infrastructure and social infrastructures, because again, if we don't start again thinking about what cities are for, before Jennifer and Francesco, they said cities are for make people happy to stay there, you know. Maybe then for Francesco, maybe we have to ask Aristotle if he knew Rome. It's an alchemy, how to understand why people still want to live here. No, I live here, so I know it very well. But maybe one word was missed before, and it's people stay in the city to work. We are forgetting this thing that I think it's very, very important for us in Italy, for Italian cities in this moment, because we are looking at foreign model, Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian models, where you know, work is a problem, but maybe it's not an urban problem. We have to make our city start again thinking about how to preserve and to create jobs in the city. And it's not only thinking about new services, creative towns or creative people, you know, but it's all, it means also thinking about hard work, industry, because I think without industry means not only heavy industry or big corporation, you know, it means for us in Italy, the very, very small companies, artisans, for instance, but we have to start from there. This means start thinking about how to build a specific identity for the city. I mean, I think cities, mayors, administrators, business community in the city have to focus 3 or 4 or 5 main, you know, economic vocations for the cities, and invest upon these 3, 4, 5 economic vocations. It means, we heard before about Torino, and maybe it's the city in Italy where this changing is more evident, you know. But also here in Rome, in Milan, luckily today in Milan we have something is happening just now where this vocation maybe is reclaimed, you know. But I see Naples, I see many cities, and when I speak to mayors in these big cities, I'm not so sure they have a clear vision of the economic vocation of their territory. We are now in Italy, we are facing this huge institutional changing. We are creating le città metropolitane, metropolitan areas, which is a very new, completely fresh way of manage territory. And I think this is a very good, maybe one of the last occasions we have to think about the economic vocation, the economic sense of these big cities. Other thing is, I think other 2 or 3 words I heard before. Sorry, I heard before about technology. I think the main responsibility for mayors, for people who manage the city, is to know the potential of technologies. Because sometimes it still happens to me when I speak to local administrations, to have a very deep distance between the technology potential about IoT, sensoring, I don't know what big data, for instance, and their needs. We still have a sort of, alchemic idea of the technology, when we can apply technology, things that they will go better, almost automatically, but it's not true. About data, about big data, open data, I think I know I'm focusing on weakness, but we have lots of potential. Another weakness is about the use of data, which for me in our cities is still very, very poor. It's not applied to planning. We use data to know, sometimes to understand what's happening in the city, but there is still a huge distance between data analysis and the use for planning. And I mean, not only for urban planning, but also for social planning, which maybe is more important. And then, and the last point I want to focus is about public organization. I think if we want to do all the things I said, in a new way of planning, new capacity of data analysis, new vision, new economic planning, all these things are not at the moment, in the generality of cases, are not in the capabilities of people who are working for the local public administration. I think we have to learn new jobs, to have new competences. It's not easy at all, because of economic cuts. But this is very important. Basically, I think it's one of the lack is more risky for our cities, because if we think we can do like Toronto or like Torino without changing people who work in the local public administration, maybe we are dreaming. I hope that new resources from the new European fundings, which are coming in town, they will be concentrated upon this lack. I think it is still a matter we are not facing with enough attention.
Thank you very much, Paolo. So, some more remark or maybe some advice or error learned for the floor?
Well, I have to agree with everything that you've said. And to give you I think you're talking about the strategic approach. I think the challenge today is maintaining a focus on strategy. When you have scarce resources, and all of our cities have scarce resources, when you have a skeptical public, an erosion of public trust in institutions in general. So you're up against that politically. And I think the pace of change, as well as the influence of social media, keeps distracting us onto the next shiny new object. And so being able to keep strategic focus in the public realm is, I think, a real challenge today. Since leaving municipal politics, I'm serving on a board of a financial institution, and I marvel at their ability to stay focused, that strategic focus. And lots going on, lots to distract, but not the same kinds of things that distract at a city level. So, and then just another, reflecting on your comments about economic strategy and the need to focus on jobs. Again, taking that strategic focus and really understanding what are the strengths of your community. And it's going to be different for every community. But what's your unique strength? So it's partly an internal reflection and looking at what your strengths are. But then I think it's also really important for cities today to understand their place in the world, and that's that comment about identity. So finding that place in the world means you have to then also go outside. And I think sometimes by going outside and engaging in these kinds of conversations or in different ways, you can also better understand yourself as well and further refine your identity and your strengths. And again, staying very focused on what those are in order to be able to attract the jobs to your community based on those strengths. So, and then finally, friendly cities, and we were calling it in Guelph. We launched a program over the last 4 years called Wellbeing, Guelph Wellbeing, Community Wellbeing. We used work, there's a Canadian Index of Wellbeing, so it's a national exercise that intensely research-driven by universities across Canada, identifying ways to measure community well-being, and they've identified 8 domains within that, and have identified indicators within each of those. And so we took that national work and said, well, what happens if you apply it on a community level and look at it at a community level? And so we went through a program and we surveyed our community, we adapted their work at a community level, and it's now being looked at by other cities because of the strength of the approach. And right now that's in limbo. It's friendly city, happy city, well-being city. It's seen as fix the pothole. Don't talk to me about a happy city, but we're hearing here that those are issues that we need to talk about. So there's still a challenge, certainly, I think generally in Canada, of cities being able to have those conversations and push into that space without getting a backlash of why are we doing that. But I think there's a whole wealth of opportunity there for cities to really focus on well-being, happiness, friendliness, however you want to call it, and be very deliberate and very measured about how you do that work.
Thank you, thank you. We have a couple of minutes left, so if you have some remark or comment or question, please. No, I have one. Because, you said that is an asset or maybe not. Mm-hmm. So there is some difficult to face for the foreign people, as we said, and Jennifer said. But in an ecosystem, all the actors, all the stakeholders should be included as an asset. So how can we do that? That's for you both. Oh, yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, stopping talking about these people like a problem, for instance. I think we are struggling for the same problem. It's economic resources, you know. And so it's difficult to understand people who are coming in Italy now. They are trying to have a simple life as our grandparents they are looking for when they started to Canada, for instance, or to the US, to Argentina, for instance, just 100 years ago. And so this is, at first, a cultural point of view. Then we have also to create opportunities not for immigrants, but for people who are living in town. You know, we don't have to separate needs, but we have to consider people who lives in town, who live in the city, have same problems. Before they said the same problems maybe they had 2,000 years ago, you know. So not, this is my opinion, of course, we don't have to create mental ghettos, you know. This is for immigrants, this is for all living people in city, this is for people, city users, so creating different services, different politics for different people. It's a bit risky. We have to look at the city, to the urban problems, to urban matters as a whole. And then maybe we have to plan to plan for the weaker people in general, not only for newcomers, for immigrants, for that, but because maybe they have the same problems that children or disabled people they have.
Yeah, we have to